Good afternoon, and welcome to Moneyline MMA coverage of UFC Vegas 103, featuring Manel Kape versus Almabyev. Some interesting flyweight fighters coming up the rankings here. Both of these guys with upward trajectories. I would say this has decent implications on the title. With currently obviously Pantoja being the man, but Pantoja's already beaten Moreno, already beaten Royval, already kind of defended his belt a few times. So there's a small argument to be made, outside of Tatsuro Taira, that the winner of this fight could be the next challenger of the title. That said, there's a couple other pretty good fights on this card. This will take place in Vegas on Saturday, the first day of March, with the prelims starting at 3 in the afternoon. Excuse me, before we get too deep in to the card picks for this Saturday. Let me quick discuss last Saturday, in which Jose was unable to make it, so we only had picks from yours truly. And I'm still hoping you tuned in, because if you rode with me on those, you would have went 4-1. Of course, that's why we don't make five leg parlays all the time, because it's almost impossible. It's very hard to go 5-0 picking any 5 fights, even if you pick the heaviest favorites on every single card. And actually, a lot of times we'll have underdogs. In fact, speaking of underdogs, Ricky Simón, my one weight, was a pretty huge underdog going into that fight. He was able to get the job done. Huge props to Ricky Simón dogging that out. Gene Matsumoto was my only loss, and I'd argue he was winning the fight. And Rafon is just a dog, man. Rafon is just a dog. And I mentioned it, like, it was not a good betting line, but I thought Matsumoto was going to be able to eke out a win, and he did not, man. Rafon, just like I said, he's the kind of guy you know what you're going to get, and that just goes to show why Jose and I got to watch a snooze fest Corey Sandhagen versus Rafon, because Corey Sandhagen knows what that dude brings on the feet. Let's just keep him on his back. Yeah, that's good. So that said, that's why Matsumoto lost the fight. Yadong Song, disappointing end of the card, man. Very disappointing. I'm not going to sit here and take a side. I do wish Henry Cejudo would have kept going. I don't know what you thought, Jose. Give me your quick, 10-second opinion on that. Should Henry Cejudo have kept fighting, or do you on the side of, give him a break? That was pretty bad.
So while I was watching, I couldn't really hear much of the audio, but I thought I heard he was straight up saying himself he couldn't see. So if that was the case, then yeah. But if it was just based off, I mean, I felt bad for him though, because the amount of times he was getting eye poked was problematic. I thought at most it should have been point deductions from Yadong Song, and I thought Henry Cejudo was able to keep going, because when it initially got called, I thought he was going to be able to keep going, but I do think he did say the words he couldn't see, and I think afterwards he made a poster, talked about it quick about the one eye that he was struggling to see out of. So if that's the case, then yeah, he's kind of a compromised fighter, and he probably would have just taken more unnecessary damage, or who knows, he probably could have won, because he was interviewing with Michael Bisping afterwards, and so if anyone knows better than fighting with one eye, it's him. And I just felt like I feel like part of him could have kept going in and could have kept fighting, but I just don't also blame him, just because the amount of times he got poked was, I think almost was in grounds of disqualification. I would have said as well, and I was kind of surprised to see that he ended up the way they called it by doctor stoppage, so he took the loss, because I felt like he almost should have gotten the win almost via DQ, but I felt like the ref probably should have at least deducted points at first. I don't know if that did happen, but they should have deducted points at first, at least after the second, because it's just too many times, it was 3 or 4 times, at least 3, and I think after the second time it's all right, and then how fast 2 of them happened almost back to back, I felt like it should have been just immediate, should have started punishing Yadong Song for it, but instead he just got a victory, so I wasn't too happy with it. Not to mention, I didn't have a pick, but I was at the casino when I was watching it, and I did go with Henry Cejudo as the underdog, so that's also just an added.
I told you. We were on the phone and you barely could hear me, but I literally was saying Cejudo. All right, what did I say? I said the co-main and the main event favorites, and I said take them in a 2-leg parlay. You're gonna be fine. And you I don't know if you even heard me, but if you would have done that, you'd have been a happy man. Just saying.
Yeah, I was a sad man. I did the opposite and went with the 2 underdogs. So yeah. So that was on me. But that being said, yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah, Fluffy. Yeah, that was a phenomenal showing by Fluffy too. Just Brandon Allen, just one of the very few times where he let me down, and I should have known better to bet against Fluffy as well. So, yeah, not a good night for me. At least those are the only two bets I made. Really, the only two picks I made overall. But that being said, yeah, I thought Henry Cejudo could have kept going a little bit, or at least, if anything, it should have just been a no draw, like a no contest, I should say. So, kind of felt bad
Yeah,
to see it
that's
the way it turned
wild that
out.
it like barely went over the halfway point. If they would have stopped it after one of the other eye pokes, it would have technically been a no contest. But I guess because it technically went over the halfway point or something, I heard the ref say at one point. So I don't. I'm with you. Coming from someone who had the two leg between Fluffy and Yadong Song, I'm pumped because my shit cashed. But I would have understood a no contest from the perspective of the ref there. But in the end, I'm with you, man. Especially like I was more on the fence, but today I saw Henry Cejudo post. I believe he had some sort of corneal fracture, like abrasion. Like it was weird, like real bad looking eye injury. That's for sure. So that's all I gotta say is I wouldn't want to fight like that either. Also, he was also kind of losing the fight anyway. So if you're already losing, like making your continuing with that kind of impairness, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, just try and go down your shield like Henry did. At least he's smart enough to do that and try and get himself a rematch because the UFC will have to pay him twice for the same fight.
Yeah, that's a smart vet move on his behalf. So,
So Henry Cejudo ruined his reputation so fast. Think about that. He was a double division champ at one point, wasn't he? And all of a sudden he says I'm retiring after defending one of his belts, and he comes back and can't get anything. Not a dang thing. He just gets the price of showing up.
yeah, definitely wasted some prime years, unfortunately. But
Dumb choices, man. Dumb choices.
yeah,
But I'm not going to sit here and write on him too much. That's pretty much the entirety of last week's card. Of course, we mentioned the co-main event between Fluffy and Brendan Allen. That was a great fight. I mean, it went to decision, but it wasn't really a question that Fluffy pretty much dominated that whole fight and did and imposed his will. And I was a little more nervous in the breakdown that I had last week in Brendan Allen's jiu-jitsu defensively on his back, and he had some spots, but in the end, Anthony is just he's relentless, man. He doesn't tire out, and he made my 5 wood look great. I'll say that much. Gene Silva also is the last one getting that first round finish on Melsik Bagdasarian. Not much to be said yet. Performance of the night. So great night from your boy 4-1, and we're going to continue that heat. For anyone new out here, we do a 5-weight pick system in which we individually pick 5 fights of the currently 12 scheduled for UFC 103, and we weigh them individually in order of confidence. And then just before the show starts, we discuss those just to know what order we're going in. We always start with our locks of the week, aka our 5-weight, our most confident pick of the fight, and the most combined weight between both of our picks is going to be the show's lock of the week. That said, without any further ado, let's get into the 5-weight pick of Saturday afternoon, which for me is going to be in the main event. It's going to be the feature fight between Esteban Ribovics. I'm going to be taking Esteban Ribovics as my 5-weight. Honestly, I think Esteban Ribovics is better in all scenarios here. I think Esteban Ribovics is the kind of guy, he's never been finished, and I'm the kind of guy to say, like, who cares if someone's never been finished? He could be finished by anyone at any time, but let's be real. Nasrat Haqparast is not the kind of guy who's going to come in and get the finish. In my opinion, Nasrat has 7 of his 17 wins by decision, 0 submission wins. He's very much so a decision, and he's got a lot of KOs under his belt too. But it's against like Jamie Mularkey. Like, I think Esteban Ribovics is proven to be just a little bit better. I will say part of it is because I remember it was the Sphere card in which I believe we differed. I was one of the ones who picked Esteban, and I think you picked Zell Huber, and it was a split decision in Esteban's favorite. So part of it is like I have some maybe favoritism, but he finished Terrence McKinney. I understand Terrence McKinney's not like an insane fighter, but he's the kind of guy who's going to go in there and finish you, or you're going to have to finish him. So the fact that Esteban was the one that did finish him, I'm confident in his prowess on the feet, never having been finished. He's a favorite for a reason here. I'd have to double check, but I believe he's about a minus 250 favorite. He's Esteban Ribovics. Let me check the updated line. It's 280 now, so money's coming in on Esteban. I was looking earlier. He was not minus 280, so When he's coming in on Esteban, get it while you can. But to be honest, it's slowly becoming too steep. Nasrat at plus 210 to me. This is pretty easy at Esteban. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, I agree with you, Nick. I have Esteban Rijovic as well taking this one, and he's actually my four weight as well. So I feel really strong in siding with him in this one. And as you mentioned, like yeah, like at the Sphere card, I did have Daniel Zellhuber, and I remember that like since then that really opened my eyes because I was really high on Daniel Zellhuber, and obviously I picked him. And I remember watching that fight too, even though it was a split decision for Esteban Rijovic. I honestly wouldn't have been surprised, and I think we even talked about it, like maybe like if it would have been unanimous decision as well, because there was just moments where he was just piecing up Daniel Zellhuber, and like Daniel wasn't doing anything other than just eating shots after shots after shots. And I just like was like I was kind of a little surprised myself to see that it came to split. And so that being said, like yeah, like my eyes were really opened up about Esteban Rijovic then, and he's just riding a phenomenal 3-fight winning streak. Win over Terrence McKinney as well in the first round. So and then Nasrat, Ryan 4 wins. That looks pretty good as well. He does have a win. His most recent one is a split decision win over Jared Gordon, and that's been kind of up and down. Like he hasn't really beaten anyone notable. He's gone against like notable fighters, but he hasn't beaten them. And he's a little small too. Like if I remember what I recall, he used to be a featherweight, and he's just not that big of a guy. So Nasrat, just some of the wins he's gotten, like that's cool and nice, but pair him up against some tougher opponents, and that's where he starts to struggle himself, like Dan Hooker and Bobby Green. I don't really see that many notable wins on his record, to be honest, and he even has like a loss to like Drew Dober. So that was in 2020, but he got knocked out by him. This one, I think Esteban Rijovic is overall the better fighter. He does not have as much UFC experience as Nasrat, but I just think that the wins that Esteban already has are a little more notable, and he's already proven to do fare well with the challenges that is getting presented in front of him. Because you can tell the UFC is definitely trying to move him up. And again, that Daniel Zellhuber, the split decision win, I think I think it should have probably been a unanimous decision win for him. So that being said, yeah, I feel really strong on Esteban Rijovic taking this, and and then that's a lot too because Nasrat also has. I like the guys that you also have like the longer reach, but Nasrat himself actually has a 3-inch reach advantage over Esteban Rijovic. But I think it's safe to say that this is going to be a major striking match on both ends. Both guys land a high percentage of strikes per minute, but they also both absorb a high amount. So I think this one too. I think I'm pretty open to as well to think that Esteban Rijovic is going to win this via KO/TKO. He's only gone out of his 14 wins. Yeah, he's only gone to decision twice. So I think this can be a stoppage for Esteban Rijovic as when out of the 5 losses that Nasrat's had, he's only been finished. He's been finished twice and lost the decision 3 times. So yeah, I think this one again. Not gonna beat a dead horse now too much, but like yeah, I got Esteban Rijovic. I agree with you. He's my 4-weight, and I think he's high likely to get a stoppage in this one.
I honestly was kind of gonna say the same thing. I mean, there's always that chance for decision, no doubt. But I do think Esteban's going to have the foot on the gas the whole time. And honestly, maybe he sees, he only has 5 submission wins under his belt. But maybe it's a club and sub kind of situation too. Where he gets the knockdown and gets on his back or something. Nasrat only has 1 loss via submission, but never won. So he has a clear weakness, on the ground, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm with you on that. To maybe just go with Rijovic inside the distance there and see what could maybe happen. And that'll give you some better odds too, because Rijovic is obviously minus 280. You could at least, I don't know if it's out quite yet for inside the distance. It's not on FanDuel at least, but you'll get a little bit better odds there. So that'll be the money line lock of the week then, considering we can't get any higher than a 9 since we know my 5 is already in this. Therefore, we can only have a tie for money line lock of the week, or Esteban himself is the lock of the week. So we'll let Jose go with his 5-weight.
So yeah, so for my 5 weight, this is the featherweight bout between Hyder Emil and William Gomez. Right now, William Gomez is the betting favorite at -230, while Hyder Emil is the betting underdog at +176. This one, it's hard not to go with after with William Gomez. He's looked phenomenal every time he stepped into the UFC ring, and he only has that does have a couple split decision wins, but he still looked nothing but phenomenal. I've never been like every time I've almost seen him, he's just been pure domination. And the thing about this too is just I like the matchup that he has against Emil. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage over Emil, and he doesn't land as much heavy strikes as Emil does. Emil lands 6.31 significant strikes per minute. I think William Gomez is more like a sniper, and he just when he hits, he just you can tell it really hurts the opponents. It's just doesn't maybe in 2.69 is it's a pretty good fair actually amount to land per minute. But I swear with him, it's more like I want to say like almost like Izzy Adesanya, where it's like Izzy can be fast, but he can kind of just read you and then boom, just like find the opening and just strike you right there because I guess what both are really good counter strikers. And so that being said, I think this fight's mostly going to be on the feet, and I think William Gomez is going to piece up Hyder Emil, just break him down systematically because Emil himself he just throws a barrage of punches and he could possibly knock out Gomez, but I just think that he may just throw a barrage of punches and Gomez will slowly just break him apart and break him down and finish him within the distance. If not, for surely, obviously, just unanimous decision win William Gomez all the way. So obviously, I feel really good about him. He is my 5 weight. What are your thoughts on this one, Nick?
I do agree with you. We'll have another agreement here, but I have a 3 weight on Gomez, so just short of the 9 weight that we would need to tie for lock of the week. William Gomez, to me, is a little bit boring, just in the sense that he lands like, what is it, 2.69 strikes per minute? Like, that's really low, man. And to still land more than you absorb is impressive, no doubt. So like your assessment of him being a sniper is pretty perfectly accurate because that's what he does, man. He stands in the outside and he takes his shots where he sees them and he avoids getting hit as much as he can. And with that said, Hyder Emil is definitely going to come on and throw a lot of heavy punches early. I would tend to say if you can get outside the first minute, first round and a half with Hyder, William Gomez is perfect. So if you're gonna take Hyder, in my opinion, you take him early. You take him like KO in the first round. You know what I'm saying? Because I do think he'll gas out. I think if Gomez is crafty and quick enough on his feet and moving his shoulders and head enough to get out of the way of those barrages, man, Hyder's gonna gas out and lose this fight by points. So I would actually go so far as to say I believe this would be Emil by KO or Gomez by decision. I'm pretty sure it will be one or the other. Now, there's a chance Gomez KOs Emil. It's possible. I would just say, as far as really digging deep for some good value, I would say Gomez by decision.
Yeah, I like that, and I like how you mentioned. Yeah, just thinking from the wins, yeah, I agree. He probably would get the stoppage just out of his 10 wins, 6 of them KO, TKO, and he just throws haymakers. So I agree with you 100% on that assessment. This one, yeah, we both got Gomez. He's my 5 weight. I think I do think he can finish Emil, but I guess this one I'm not gonna really say which method. I don't feel as strong about it as I do with Ribovics. But that being said, yeah, I got Gomez as my 5 weight, and he's your 3 weight.
That'll take us to my 4 weight, and I'm excited about this one because we got one of my favorite fighters coming up here. I'm a big fan. He is listed, at least on Tapology, to be the main event of the prelims. That is very definitely subject to change, or especially on Monday, orders could go all over the place, especially knowing the UFC. But I would be pumped to see Ricardo Ramos versus Chepe Mariscal as your main event of of the prelims. Excuse me. We've got Chepe Mariscal here as my 4 weight. Chepe, I mean, if you're around him, you've been watching the UFC. There's not much you need to say. He wins with cardio. He is so good just on the feet, outboxing guys, outstanding them. Like Like I can't compare him to Merab or anything like that because Merab wrestles so much and he throws that pace as well. But Chepe just keeps going, man. He just keeps his foot on the gas. It does not matter what round, what minute, if you've wrestled him, if you've not wrestled him. And he still does land 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. So, like I said, maybe not Merab pace, but he landed 5 against Damon Jackson, which is a big part of the reason he got a decision win. In a fight of the night performance bonus win against Morgan Charrier, he was out striking him, and that's the reason he got the split decision win. So he's shown the ability to wrestle and to strike. He's got a positive striking differential, which I love, and he's got a cardio of a dog, man. This guy's going to keep effing going, I promise. And he's fighting Ricardo Ramos. I'm not going to dog on Ramos that much, but his winners, his fights in which he has won, especially in the UFC, are pretty subpar. And he's also lost to guys like Julian Erosa and Charles Jourdain. Not impressed. Yes, those were both losses by submission. Maybe that's something Chepe looks to do. Knowing he can get some takedowns here, maybe he goes for the throat and tries to find a little bit of a weakness there. But Ramos has also been KO'd by guys like Lerone Murphy as late as 2020. So I don't know, man. Not much to see here out of Ramos, in my opinion. This is pretty easy in Chepe's favor. And before I hand it over to Jose, I'm just going to go ahead and list the odds here. Chepe is minus 480. Jeez. The odds know it too, man. The odds know it too. I did not know he was that big of a favorite. Ricardo Ramos plus 330. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, man. So I'm very disappointed in this one. I'm in terms of like I did not pick it because I thought of this fights earlier. I did look it over and I did have Chepe, but then when I was just writing them down, I just looked at another fight and I just threw it on there, and then I didn't realize that I had all 5 my fights picked. But Chepe would have been up there, and he would have probably been actually my 3-weight or higher. And yeah, like what can you say about Chepe? Like you said it all, and like I don't know if I can add any more. He's just looked phenomenally good, and just compared to Ricardo Ramos, I just like the experience that he's had. Like, you know, even though he has some losses, but he lost to Gregor Gillespie back in 2016. That's already early on in his career to go against someone like that, who Gregor Gillespie's a decorated wrestler too in college. And then he even actually, I saw he fought Tim Cho, who went to our high school actually, and he beat him. And then he lost to Bryce Mitchell in 2017. So, but then he beats Yusuf Zalal in LFA 57. So just the experience that Chepe's had way before even like he's gone to the UFC, I like a lot. And just the way he's just been winning has just been just truly dominant. And he's just an extremely well-rounded fighter. I think he's going to win either by TKO, KO, submission, or decision. And he hasn't been finished in a while either. So this one, I was riding actually really high in Chepe, and I just can't believe I let this one slip, that it's not in my rankings. But this one, I agree with you. He probably would have been our lock of the week if as well, because I would have probably I don't know, he was up there in 3 or 4 or 5 for me. But that being said, I do not have a weight on this, but I wholeheartedly agree 100% with you on Chepe. You cannot deny that, man.
Love that, dude. So we both agree then. Excited to see that. Chepe's getting some love from us. Ribovics, Gomez. I mean, seems like some pretty confident numbers here for us. And we're excited to help win some money for everybody placing bets this week. Excuse me, but with that said, we got Jose's 3-weight.
So for my 3-weight, this actually comes down, it's to the main event. And for this one, yeah, between Manal Kape and Asu Almabyev, right? For this one, Almabyev, he is the betting underdog at plus 186, while Manal Kape is the betting favorite at minus 245. This one, I'm gonna go with Manal Kape. I think mostly just because, without a doubt, he's gonna be dominant on the feet, and his wrestling, even though he has a solid takedown defense. So, and we know what Almabyev is gonna bring to the table. He's going to be coming in with some strong grappling, and his striking isn't bad at all. But it's just, I think Manal Kape's kickboxing style is just going to be a little overwhelming. The only thing I can see Almabyev beating him is if he can secure a takedown and mostly win via control time and ground and pound, and possibly just win by submission. Out of his 21 wins, he does have 9 submissions and in 9 decisions and only 3 KO/TKO. So I don't really see him finishing or TKOing Manel Kape if he wins. It will mostly come down by decision, and it's going to be him just completely out wrestling Manel Kape. Or eventually submitting Manel Kape, which Manel Kape, he has been submitted before, but he hasn't been submitted since, I'm scrolling down since 2017. So he hasn't in Ryzen, so he hasn't been submitted in a minute. And I don't think Almabyev will be the one to submit Manel Kape either in the UFC. So this one, I think it's just Manel Kape. As long as he stays on his feet, that's why he's my 3s in the middle, because it depends which way this fight goes. If they keep it on the feet, Manel Kape all day decision and possibly even a KO/TKO. But without a doubt, if it stays on the feet, decision. If it goes to the ground, that's where I get a little iffy. There's a lot of value in Asu Almabyev as an underdog, because if he does have a strong wrestling game and comes in and holds Manel Kape down, he can definitely win this unanimously and possibly get a submission win. But most likely, I think it would be unanimous. So I definitely see a lot of value with him as being an underdog, especially again being at a plus 186. I see the value, but Manel Kape is just, I think, just too well experienced with a 77% takedown defense. I think this fight may end up being a little more on the feet. Therefore, I think the win will go to Manel Kape. So he is my 3-way. I fall a little in the middle of this because I do see just again a lot of value in Asu Almabyev. What are your thoughts on this one, Nick?
So we're gonna wait. Let me double check here. So actually, we'll disagree. I'm gonna take Asu Almabyev, man. I think this is gonna hinge completely on the wrestling aspect, and I'm with you. I don't think it's all too likely that Almabyev is able to submit Kape, as Kape is very good. I'm sure he's gonna be able to scramble at times. But to me, if Almabyev can land a takedown in each round, he's going to be in a pretty good spot, I think, for that decision win. It's going to be interesting. Some people point to his win last time against Mateus Nicolau, in which he was 1 of 6 for his takedown attempts. And if he does that against Manel Kape, he's probably losing. But you can also look to some of his other fights, like 6 of 11 against Jose Johnson. If he does that to Manel Kape, he's probably winning. So we'll really see. I think Kape is smart enough to know, I'm sure his camp is smart enough to know that they have to train takedown defense heavy. And so far he's been able to defend a lot of takedowns and do it well in the UFC. But I also don't really believe that he's been able to fight the best takedown artists. I mean, okay, he fought Mohamed Mokaev, who's a good takedown artist, and lost. He fought Alexander Pantoja, who's now the champion and a pretty good jiu-jitsu and wrestling champion, and lost. So far he's in my eyes lost to the guys who are good wrestlers and can take him down. So we'll see. I'm gonna stay with Almabyev. With a lower weight, he's my 1 weight, so I'm not as confident as your 3 weight, but I do like him, and especially by the fact that he is a dog too, as you mentioned. Plus 186 I think is extremely good value for a guy. You don't see a guy 21-2 professionally as a dog very often.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true with that. Yeah, not much for me to say. Definitely, yeah. Like I like where I'm setting with Manel Kape as my 3-weight. Again, I'm a little confident in, just because I've also seen Manel Kape definitely fight more than Asu Almabyev. So there's that. But that being said, yeah, definitely solid pick though. Still with Asu as a 1-weight. Honestly, if I would have gone with him, it would have been the same thing, 1 or 2 weight right there. But that being said, yeah, this is one we'll disagree on. But I definitely like your pick is with Asu Almabyev as well. So yeah.
Last thing I'll mention is technically Almabyev is a later replacement here. This card's gone through a dumb amount of movements, but initially it was Manel Kape versus Brandon Royval, and they're bringing in Asu Almabyev. But to be fair, Almabyev was booked to fight Steve Erceg, and Erceg went and rebooked somewhere else. So To be fair, Asu was getting ready to fight anyway. It just wasn't necessarily Manel Kape until Royval got hurt and backed out. But either way, we're going to move on to my two weight, and that'll actually, by process of elimination, be my last pick. Jose has two more picks, but of course, one of them I do not have a pick on officially, so we'll go through those two after. My two weight, in which we both have a pick on anyways, in which is between Cody Brundage and Julian Marquez. This is the co-main event, and I don't know, I'm, when you look at these guys with face value, it's not that exciting, but I will say they are the fireworks kind of fighters. So although they may not carry a bunch of name value, I think this co-main event has good chance to end early. I mean, boy, I'm surprised if the over/under on this isn't under in 1.5 rounds, because man, Cody Brundage is the kind of guy to go in there and finish or get finished. I mean, he does have some decisions under his belt. Don't get me wrong, but in most cases, those are losses. When he wins, he gets a finish, and I think he realizes that. Cody Brundage is usually pretty exciting. And Julian Marquez has a lot of the same things to say. Only one of Julian Marquez's fights, I believe 8 fights in the UFC so far, only one of them has gone to the judges. So both of these guys are fireworks, man. Take under if it's 2.5 all day long, and pretty much side with who you think is going to win inside the distance. Julian Marquez has a slight height advantage. They both have the same reach. With my pick at 2 weight, I'm going with Cody Brundage. I think he's a little bit better than a lot of people lead him on to be. I just do. He's had a tough run. Losing to guys like Bo Nickel and Abdul Razak Al Hassan aren't that bad. I'll say his worst loss is Cedric Dumas. That is a tough loss to take by decision, but I don't think he's the same guy as that anymore. I think he's going to have a higher pace. He came off that fight and got 2 wins. So that said, and that was one of them was by DQ actually, because Malkoun was I think need him illegally or something like that. So in all technicality, the haters are going to say that he only won that one fight. But you know what? I like Cody Brundage. I think he's going to come in strong. And who's Julian Marquez off 3 straight losses to think that he's much better? His only win recently is Sam Alvey. Come on, Stinky Sam. Let's get out of here. So Cody Brundage is going to be the winner in this fight inside the distance. What do you think, Jose?
Man, yeah, this one. So this fight is my 2 weight as well. And to be honest, it was kind of a coin flip for me. Like as you said, like what you're gonna get out of these two guys, and pretty much both. It's either kill or be killed. And I'm actually gonna differ with you on this one. I'm gonna go with Julian Marquez, even though he's been on a 3-fight losing streak. I mean, losing to RoboCop. Yeah, RoboCop just lost to Cannonier, but RoboCop did go quite a bit on a tear himself. Marc-Andre Barrial, same thing, dude. Like that. Like right now, he's on a 3-fight losing skid, but he's had really good moments as well in the UFC. And that being said, like for this one, like yeah, Julian Marquez has never actually, even out of his 9 wins, he's never actually gone to decision, while Cody Brundage has only done it once. So that being said, these guys, like how they match up physically, Julian Marquez is just slightly taller, 6'2". Cody Brundage is 6 exactly, and neither have a reach advantage whatsoever. So then I'm going to go with Julian Marquez just because he lands more significant strikes per minute. He lands 4.85, but he absorbs 5.06. On the other hand, Cody Brundage, he lands 1.62 and absorbs 2.63. So Cody Brundage, just in general, he doesn't throw as much. He doesn't have a high volume of punches, and then he also just seems to eat more than what he's actually dishing out. In a sense, Julian Marquez already just naturally throws a high volume of punches. I'm just assuming, and I'm hoping that, he is able to just clip and make it an early night and finish Cody Brundage, because I just think that maybe he'll just throw a faster barrage of punches and Cody's defense just won't be as good. And when it comes down to the grappling, honestly, I think it would be almost a 50-50. Maybe Cody Brundage would be more likely to want to get the takedown if Julian Marquez starts closing in with a barrage of punches. But I honestly, I think he won't keep Julian Marquez down for long. So I definitely agree. I think this fight is definitely safe to say won't make it the distance, but to me, it really was a coin flip, and I'm just going with Julian Marquez just because he is a little more wild and just throws a high volume of punches, and Cody Brundage does seem to, at least on paper, eat more than what he dishes out. So that being said, yeah, I'm going with Julian Marquez on this one as my 2 weight.
All right, love that. We'll see who wins. That just leaves your 1 weight then.
Yes, sir. And then this is my one way, and this is the fight that I saw that made me accidentally leave out the Chipe fight. But that being said, this is the showdown between the heavyweights, Austin Lane and Mario Pinto. And right now, Austin Lane, he is the betting. Let me see. I just missed this one. He is the he is the betting underdog at plus 300, while Mauro Pinto is the betting favorite at minus 430. That is an extremely insane stat for a guy who has no official, like, uh, just an official fight in the UFC. He has the Dana White Contender Series and is Mario Pinto, but for him to be that big of a favorite at minus 430 is just astonishingly insane to me. But again, I'm not too surprised because I would picture, and I've said this before, almost anyone that goes against Austin Lane to be that a big favorite no matter what. Just because Austin Lane does not have a chin, out of his 5 losses, he's been knocked out 5 times. And I don't know, like I was genuinely surprised he won the last fight against Robles de Spain. And but that being said, like Robles displaying, he's not even in the UFC anymore. So like I'm just saying, like even so, that one win he has to me isn't even like is literally nothing. So best way to put it is like yeah, like Austin Lane, like I want to give him love because he is a Wisconsin guy too, and but he's 37 years old, and Mario Pinto's 26 years old. Dude's a killing machine. He has out of his 9 wins, 5 KOs, 1 submission, and 3 decisions. So yeah, again, I'm mostly betting against Austin Lane's chin in this one. So 100%. I'm putting Mario Pinto. He's my one weight, but again, because it's the heavyweight division, anything can happen. And Austin Lane does have more UFC experience, so um, that's why Mario Pinto is my one weight. But other than that, yeah, I got Mario Pinto on this one, and he's most likely going to win by KO/TKO. But again, it's the heavyweight division, can be wild. What are your thoughts on this one, Nick?
Obviously, I don't have an official weight. Honestly, man, I'd probably have to disagree with you if I did, though. And I'm just mainly thinking, like, yo, I can't pick a guy on his MMA, his UFC debut. He's coming in from a contender series contract. I'm just not. There's just no way. I mean, Austin Lane isn't that good, but he came from the UFC after like dominating everybody in Fury FC in their heavyweight division. So it just further shows that like the UFC does have the best of the best. But this dude can't come from some other division or conference or fight club at being their best and be like, okay, now I'm a minus 400 favorite in the UFC. That's crazy. So it's mainly just off of like, well, first of all, that's good value to me on a guy who's gotten a win in the UFC before. And second of all, protest against a guy's UFC debut being a minus 400 favorite is crazy.
No, yeah, I respect that though too. This is like this fight, yeah. Again, like was that honestly I shouldn't have even talked about it. To be honest, I should have had the Chip A fight, but it was just I honestly like. There's literally no value to in betting for Mario Pinto whatsoever in this one with him just being a minus 430. So
Yeah, I'd avoid it.
no, yeah, I would say yeah. He's just the side of me is just going with him as the one way is just again I'm more betting against Austin Lane's chin, but it is heavyweight division. Anything can happen. That being said, yeah, that's what I'm sticking with Mario Pinto, and just other than that, just dude's got dude's younger. He's got knockout power, and obviously both guys got knockout power, but uh, I'm going with his youth and his finishing rate versus Austin Lane's chin. So that being said, yeah, that is my one weight.
Yo, you ought to. Yeah, I mean, you ought to be saying like, he's so youthful that he doesn't know what he's really even getting into, so he's just gonna go and swing and win. In all reality, like, yo, it's the fucking UFC. Like, take that shit easy. You don't want to get knocked out. But might be for
True,
in
true.
his favor, right? It might be in his favor. I'm saying because Austin Lane isn't agile enough to really get out of the way.
Yeah, and well, I agree. And Austin Lane, like, yeah, he pretty much he's equal with what he dishes out, he absorbs. You know, he lands 2.47 significant strikes per minute and absorbs 2.44. So, like, he's kind of like right there with me. Like, I need to see a little more Austin Lane as well, like to actually, um, I don't know, to even think of him as being even a top 15 fighter. Because right now he's definitely not a top 15.
All right, excuse me. Well, that'll do it for us here at Moneyline MMA. Lock of the week, Esteban Ribovics. My 5-weight lock of the week, Esteban Ribovics. Jose's 5-weight lock of the week, William Gomez. Parlay of the week is going to be Ribovics plus William Gomez, and then might as well add Chepe Mariscal on top. That being said, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And as always, we're going to be returning next week. I believe we're going to have our next UFC pay-per-view show. I believe the second Saturday in March is when Alex Pereira defends his belt against Magomed Ankalaev. So that'll be exciting. Make sure to tune in with us here a week from today on the 3rd of March around 5:30 Central Time. As always, thanks for listening and have a good week.